Last week I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and it was a fun and emotional last ride with this version of the team. Let's do it. Before we get into this, there will be timestamps in the description, so feel free to use them. Also, this is a spoiler review, so here's your warning. Go watch this movie, it's great. The movie opens with Rocket being handpicked in a cage of raccoons by the High Evolutionary, and then transitions to Rocket on Knowhere. They play Creep by Radiohead and show him walking, and it's just amazing. The flashback of Rocket sets up his character arc very well. And then the plot kicks into gear with Adam Warlock showing up to try to take Rocket. He showcases his insane power with the way that he just obliterates Nebula. Rocket gets injured pretty hard, and when the Guardians try to help, they realize that there's a kill switch on him that will activate if they use their med pack. This is the problem, so now the Guardians have to go on a quest to get the files to bypass it. This intro was very emotional, intense, and sprinkled with a little bit of humor. It acted as a pretty good way to set the tone for this adventure. Star-Lord, Drax, Mantis, and Nebula get in the ship and go to find the Ravengers, and we learned that Gamora is with them, which is a pretty cool way to deal with the whole past Gamora situation in Infinity War / Endgame that James Gunn was kind of shoved into. We see Sylvester Stallone leading the Ravengers, which is awesome. And the reason they need the Ravengers is to get into the barrier around the space station thingy they are breaking into. There are a lot of good jokes here. When they are in their spacesuits, Quill talks to Gamora about how they were in love and all that. And he thinks he's doing it on a closed line, but then he realizes it's on an open line. The whole team heard him being totally rejected. It was pretty great. Also, once they are in the actual station thingy, they are confronted by the meat cops. Quill has a pretty hilarious interaction with the leader guy. It's pretty great. A little gag that happens is Star-Lord hits on the girl at the desk and it backfires, but with the help of Gamora pointing a gun at her head, she gives them what they want. I wonder why she decided to help them now. Not like she was being threatened or anything. And while all this is happening, Mantis and Drax are doing their thing, and she uses her powers to make one of the meat cops fall in love with Drax, and it's pretty darn funny. Once the people in charge realize what the Guardians are doing, a fight breaks out, which it reminds me a lot of that prison fight scene from the first Guardians movie. It was just pretty great. And when they checked the file, they realized the code they needed was recently deleted, so they have to go to Counter-Earth. Yay! No, but Counter-Earth's actually pretty cool. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the High Evolutionary and Rocket. I know. We have to. During the first two-ish acts of the movie, they cut to Rocket, here and there, and it's well done, but pretty heartbreaking, as I bet you already know. Especially the parts with Rocket's new animal friends, where they're naming themselves, the whole thing. Wow, it's just sad to think about all of it again. They're so excited to go to the new world, aka Counter-Earth. The last one of these flashbacks has Rocket learning that they were never going to Counter-Earth, and they were just a failed, stupid batch that had one purpose: to die after being experimented on. He goes to tell his friends, and they're in shock. Rocket makes a gadget to open the cells up, like their jail cells, and is greeted by the High Evolutionary, who then kills all of them, except for Rocket, because he needs Rocket's mind or whatever. And then Rocket escapes on the ship, and he was planning to escape with them, but he doesn't. It's pretty sad. These flashbacks are some of the saddest and darkest scenes in the entire MCU, and that's saying something when you have whatever in the heck was happening in Multiverse of Madness in that middle portion. And then obviously Infinity War. Now the Guardians have arrived on Counter-Earth, and we see the scene from the first trailer where they exit the ship. Drax whips the ball at the kid who was just trying to play a game of pass, and they all got mad. It's just pretty great. And then they all get split up teams. Quill, Groot, and Nebula are going to the High Evolutionary ship cube thingy. Gamora is just gonna chill on the ship, and Drax and Mantis are supposed to stay back and kinda help Gamora. Drax jumps on a motorcycle with Mantis.
Why?
To join Team Quill, but that is a later problem.
Okay.
Quill goes to confront High Evolutionary, and he tells him that he will be restarting Counter-Earth because the animal thingies are dealing drugs. Wonderful. They have a fight that results in Quill and Groot escaping, and then Nebula, Drax, and Mantis all hop onto the cube ship to save Team Quill, even though they just got off it. There's a little bit of a problem. Adam Warlock exists. Remember him? Yes. Literally all he does is start the inciting this incident. They see him talking to the High Evolutionary and like one sovereign gold lady.
Yeah, that one from like volume 2. And that was all his contribution until he goes to chase down Rocket for the second time, because he did this earlier in the movie. He goes to the ship, almost steals him. Thank goodness Gamora was there so that she could defend it all. And then she crosses the ship near Quill and Groot, and you see that one little scene from the trailer. And then Quill and Groot hop onto the ship, and we have to go to Cube ship now. But before we can do that,
we have to talk about Rocket again. Ooh, okay, so they're trying to save Rocket, and it flashes to him in heaven or some form of afterlife. He's ready to go and finally join them, friends, and he talks about how he failed them. He missed them so much, and Lila tells him it's not his time yet, and Rocket lives, which I fully thought they were gonna kill him. Now that Rocket's back into the movie, they go into Cube ship, and time for final battle, kind of, almost. So Drax, Mantis, and Nebula end up on the Cube ship, and they have to break some kids out because they see some little kids that were being experimented on and all that, so they break them free. Mantis and Drax and Nebula have a pretty funny interaction about they're arguing. Mantis is arguing that it's okay that Drax is dumb, and Nebula is just saying that he is dumb. And then Drax realizes, and then Mantis starts to wipe his emotions. It's pretty funny. And then they realize that Quill and Groot already made it out. So now Quill, Groot, Rocket, and Gamora have to go back there and have a team up where we get to see that awesome shot from the trailer of all of our Guardians coming together, which is awesome. So there's a few final battles between everybody, and then it eventually leads to Rocket and the High Evolutionary. Rocket leaves the High Evolutionary and decides that he doesn't want to kill him, which is like, it was some really well done development and all that. Good job, James Gunn. You wrote Rocket well. Who knew that was going to happen? So they're evacuating everyone off, including all the kids and animals that have been experimented on and all that. So they evacuate everybody off, and Star-Lord is caught in the middle of it. And he almost doesn't make it, but then Adam Warlock saves him, which I'm happy that they did that. So after all that, the Guardians split up. Drax and Nebula are staying on Knowhere. Cosmo, Kraglin, Rocket, and Groot are going to start a new Guardians team. Will goes to Earth, and Gamora returns with the Ravagers. And just one thing, this soundtrack is incredible. After credit scene features Quill on Earth, and it's pretty funny. I'll give this an 8.8 out of 10. This movie was a lot of fun, but my one thing is that the trailers got me expecting a little bit more than what I got. Thank you so much for watching. Space Viper out. See you in the next one. Peace out, bro!